Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank my colleague, Senator Harkin, for bringing this resolution to the floor. 50 years is a long time, but I'll be willing to bet that the veterans who sit up there remember it like it was yesterday. I bet they remember the faces of their brothers in arms who didn't come home like they saw them yesterday. 50 years since the withdrawal of troops from Vietnam and the geopolitical environment, while that's not what we're here to remember, it's impossible to divorce the men and women who went to Vietnam because they did so amongst a lot of political turmoil, social turmoil. They did not have a unified country behind them. They had a very divided country behind them. We as a nation made the mistake. We attacked the soldiers, like my father-in-law and others, who went to Vietnam, many of whom were drafted. They simply responded to the call. They felt it was their patriotic duty to go and serve their country. 18-year-old boys, 19-year-old Americans. And there were real questions about policy. Was it the right policy? Was the escalation of the war the right policy? But we should never mistake the policymakers for 18 and 19 and 20-year-old who are simply doing what they believe their country asked them to do. They didn't get a vote in Congress. They didn't get a vote in the U.S. Senate. They weren't in President Johnson's war cabinet. They were raised, no doubt, by the greatest generation, the World War II generation, to believe that when your country calls you, you go. And they did. And 58,000 more never came back home. And for those that did, they returned to a nation that, there's no other way to put it, that was not appreciative of their service and of the sacrifice of their brothers and sisters in arms. And I can't imagine what that would be like, Mr. President. I can't imagine what it would be like to come home like I did from Afghanistan, and instead of coming home to people at the airport applauding you with parades, with parties, with the, thank a vet programs and discounts to honor your service the best way we can. Instead of that, it was quite the opposite. Couldn't get a job, called names, spit on. Those wounds last a lifetime. And so while the 58,000 are enshrined in granite, or right across the street here in Albany, I would encourage my colleagues to visit that memorial. I didn't even know that was there. There's a great Vietnam memorial right here across State Street. While their names are enshrined forever, the folks who came home, they bear those wounds for the rest of their lives. And Senator Harkin said something that was very true. My generation owes a debt of gratitude to the Vietnam generation. It's because of them that I got people at the airport applauding us when we came home. It's because of Vietnam veterans that when I returned home, there were all kinds of programs, there were added additional benefits through the VA. It's Vietnam veterans, because they took that horrible experience and they made sure that there would not be a future generation of veterans, so long as they live, that would happen to again. So everything that Iraq and Afghanistan veterans have today, we really owe in large part to our brothers who served in the Vietnam War, and sisters. And so I want to thank the veterans who are here today. From one veteran to another, I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for your sacrifice. I want to thank my colleagues for supporting this resolution, and I want to say, welcome home.